Hi, I'm Cheryl Nash. Welcome to the Envestnet Institute on Campus Women in Wealth Management program. I'm here today with my esteemed advisory board, and we are going to answer some questions that will help you understand what it's like to be a woman in wealth management. First, I'd like to start with introductions. So Jill, will you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Jill Steinberg, and I am a managing director at Beacon Point Wealth Advisors and the partner in charge of the Philadelphia office.
Hi, I'm Estee Jimerson. I am a managing director and head of asset manager distribution at Envestnet.
I'm Noreen Beaman, CEO of Brinker Capital.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn Wright. I'm the chair and director of the American College State Farm Center for Women and Financial Services.
Great, thanks Jocelyn. So Jocelyn has been kind to let us do this at the American College. So we are in their studios today, and they are a great sponsor for women in wealth management. So first I'm going to ask some questions. What are the most important actions a woman beginning her career should do to prepare for that first job and stand out as a strong candidate? Jill, I'll ask that question of you.
Okay, Cheryl, couple things, and let me start from the very beginning. I think it's very important that you do your homework, learn a lot, as much as you can about the industry, about financial planning, about investment management. Then when you're doing your resume, very important that you make sure that there are no typos, that it looks crisp and clean, and that your cover letter is well written, thoughtfully and well written. And then beyond that, I would say it's important to have technical skills and demonstrate that you have the quantitative skills, but I think in our industry it's equally as important to be able to speak well, to think critically, and to analyze. I think writing skills are very, very important, and also the ability to connect with people is just as important as the quantitative skills. I personally like hiring liberal arts majors who can write well and think critically and relate to people.
That's great. Estee, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Jill just said. Taking it a step further, I think confidence is really key. I think that in order for people to have confidence in you, you have to have confidence in yourself. And I know that, I don't expect all my hires to know everything, but I do want them to have a certain confidence in their ability to figure it out. And being able to be scrappy and figure things out, I think is really important, especially for folks just coming into the industry.
That's great advice, thank you. So the second question, I'll turn to Noreen. Each of us have worked very hard throughout our careers. How do you define success?
So how I would have defined success when I first started out was really about my personal successes and about how I was doing on the job and really getting that next promotion. But how I would define success now is more a team concept, about how are we all doing as a team. And in my role, I'm responsible for our shareholders, our employees, and our clients, and how they lens and view how we're doing and serving them is how I really feel about how successful we're being. And I would share with you one thing that I enjoy in my role of mentoring is when the mentee calls me back and lets me know how they're doing.
Yes.
And sharing in their success helps me get a little bit of enjoyment and it's kind of a payback. So I think that's how I would look at success today.
Great, thank you. Jocelyn?
Sure. Well, I would say I would define confidence as one's ability to make a difference and have an impact. So outside of just your role in your position, but what are you doing to give back? How are you paying it forward, so to speak, and making sure that the path is a little bit easier for the next person coming along, especially for women in this profession. So I look at it as how am I paying it forward? What impact am I having for the young women who are coming up behind me?
That's great, thank you. So my third question, how have you used social media to promote your personal brand as well as your firm? So Estee, I'll start with you on that.
So that's a great question because as I'm posting on Twitter and LinkedIn, and really, if I'm being honest, trying to get used to Twitter, yes. I am extremely conscious of upholding my company's beliefs and values and messaging while also being true to myself. And it doesn't mean that they're in diametric opposition. They of course are not, but I want to make sure that the articles I'm posting or what I'm writing means a lot to me, that I have passion in it. So my posts and what I'm communicating out there all really have to do with diversity and inclusion in the workplace. It's something I think that I can relate to both my company and how I want things to be out there.
Yeah, that's great. And there's a lot of good information on the internet today about that.
That's right.
So it's very helpful. How about you, Noreen?
So in terms of personal brand, my brand, just like Estee said, is tied to the company. So as our industry, we really have to work hard at representing our firm when we're using social media. I was told that they're digital tattoos. You never get rid of any of the things that you post, so you need to think that through in any way in which you use social media. And I would tell you that I am not doing as good a job as I would like to be doing, and so I'm challenging myself and our team to do a better job of reaching our clients where they want to be reached. How do financial advisors want to get information? So as Estee said, making sure you're curating that around, not just putting a lot of information out. So I think there's more to come there, and we're committed to being a part of that.
And I think you made a great point, especially for college students, how important it is from a personal brand. What you put out on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter stays with you, so making sure you put out the right
Red Solo
things.
cups
That's right.
are something that as a young professional, a young student, you may want to take down.
Yes.
Or never post in the first place.
Yes.
Ideally.
That's great.
I think the barometer that you should use, what would my mother or my grandmother say
Yes.
when this goes up? So
That's
I
great.
share that with my teenage niece,
Yes.
just making sure, what would your grandmother say?
Right.
And it's a
That's-
great way to communicate, but you just have to own that you are communicating.
That's
Right.
right. That's right. And it is your personal
Beyond
brand.
just your group, because
Yes.
people
Yes.
will capture that and can share it. So it's not just the people that you're connected to who see
Right.
it.
It's a wonderful thing, social media, but you really have to be careful
Right.
and put out the right information. So my next question, what are the most important trends occurring in wealth management that you believe our EIOC students should become familiar with and educate themselves on to help ensure interview readiness? Jocelyn?
For me, I would say some of the most important trends are just the shift with the addition now of robo-advisors. So how will you incorporate that into your practice? What impact will it have? It's not to say that it's going to take the place of an advisor, but how do you use that to enhance what you're doing? Also, clients now, particularly those in Gen X and Gen Y, would like a different type of service. So it's not just, come into my office and meet with me, but how are you using technology to make it easier for us to be able to communicate and stay in touch? In addition, as we see the age, particularly with advisors, there's an aging population, an aging demographic, so there will be new opportunities for new advisors to come in and, perhaps take over a business, or it's a great way to establish a mentoring relationship with a more senior advisor who's looking to transition out. So those are things that are shifting and probably happening a lot faster than most people recognize.
Yeah, I think probably that's a great segue for you, Jill, right, since that's your practice.
Right, exactly. So I would say there are two trends that I see in the industry. One is the focus on financial planning. As the investment business itself becomes a little bit more commoditized, it's harder to differentiate yourself. And I think where we're going to see advisors adding value is on the planning side, really knowing what your clients' goals are before you start investing, why they're doing it, so that you can really advise them properly is really where you're going to be able to add value, especially as with what Jocelyn said with the coming of age of the robos. I think, too, a big trend is women controlling wealth. The statistics show that over half the wealth is controlled by women right now, and that's growing as women inherit. I think the statistics are something like women are going to inherit over 70% of wealth in the next 2 generations. They're also living longer, they're making their own money. So I also see in my industry that we still have a minority of the advisors who are women. And I know many, many firms who want to hire women advisors. And I think that's something that young women going into the field should be able to take advantage of. And I hope, honestly, I hope more go into it, because I think women are wonderful advisors. They're patient, they're trustworthy, they're more empathetic, on average, I would say. And I think it's really important that we have more women in the field.
That's great. Esther, you want to take that one too?
Yeah, it's funny, I tell my daughter, who's in college right now, all the benefits of really being an advisor and why it would be a great career move for her, knowing her personality and knowing what she likes. And you know, she's going to go down another path. We'll see where that goes. But I do think being an advisor, just the qualities, the qualities that make advisors successful seem to really align with women's strengths. And I think more women, especially young women, should be exposed to what it's like to be an advisor, what they actually do. A lot of kids, I think that it's very Wall Street-ish, and it really is the opposite. So I think it's just communicating with kids in school of, you know, what the possibilities are and what the job description is actually like.
Yeah, and I know, Noreen, we were talking, there's so many different jobs in wealth management, right?
So if you broaden out the perspective from the financial advisors who are closest to the investors, and they bring the relationships together, and then look at all the different types of majors you can have in school and relationships you can build. And you can be in marketing, you can be in technology, you could be the math major, you could do investments. You know, I started out as an accountant and moved into investments. Never would have expected that, but the opportunities are so great. And I think what our industry is going to look like 5 years from now is going to be different. So when you're getting into something that's in the middle of such tremendous change, you get to be a part of making that change. And so I look forward to seeing the next iteration of our business. And the millennial generation that's just starting, they're 34, starting to have money. And I had a different lens on this last week when someone said to me, they are changing the way they want to be served. Right. I'm the last year of the baby boomers. We just accepted how services were delivered. Millennials are adjusting to how they want to be served and forcing our industry to move in that way. And generally the baby boomers really respect the millennials because usually they're children, and therefore they have a huge influence not just in how they want to be served, but how they expect their parents to be served. So it's a fascinating time, and I actually think anyone who's looking for a job, this is the best industry to go into.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think too that when you think about the client experience, right, how that's changing and really how the millennials are changing that for everybody. It's really around technology, advisors, even marketing, how you communicate. We talked about social media, so big opportunity for college women. I think too, when I think about it, there has never been a better time just because of the discussions around diversity and inclusion, which there wasn't in the past. So it is a great time for a woman to join this wealth management industry. So Jill, what qualities would you say are essential in becoming recognized and respected as a strong and effective leader?
I would go back to a sports team analogy and say that your team is only as good as the weakest player. And I think one of the qualities of being an effective leader is learning how to bring up everyone, especially the people who aren't as skilled at the moment. Creating a positive work environment, I would say, encouraging people, mentoring people. I would say they would be the most important qualities. Is, you know, creating a good work environment, positive leadership, giving people important feedback, and modeling good behavior.
Yes, great. Estee?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to a point I made earlier about confidence, because I can't really overestimate the importance of confidence. And you know, sometimes, and I've told some people this on my team, even if you don't feel confident, I think that's really common, especially with women. Women are oftentimes extremely competent, but are not confident about that competence. So I tell folks, and maybe it's bad advice, but it worked for me, and that's fake it till you make it. Yeah. You know, when you act confident, it is oftentimes kind of a positive feedback loop, and you end up becoming more confident. And so I think that's incredibly important, especially for leadership. People want to know that their manager or boss or CEO is confident about themselves and their company and their prospects and the direction that they're taking. I think that's incredibly important.
Yeah, I think too with confidence comes communication, right? Communicating probably as often as you can to, to your team.
As you were speaking, I was thinking of that very popular TED Talk where they talk about the power poses.
And Cuddy.
And Cuddy.
That's right.
So it's so good, to do, the power stance, all of that. It really does help build that, and confidence is so critically important, particularly, as you mentioned, for women.
Yes, I agree. All right, so the last question that I have is around sponsorship and mentorship. There is a difference, and I think as women in this industry, it's important to understand what that difference is and really set yourself up to have both. So Noreen, you want to take us through that?
I think one of the most important thing is understanding the sponsor is in the room when you're not. And so they're the person that's sitting in the room when they're making a decision on hiring, when they're making decisions about giving raises, when they're making decisions about bonuses. They're the ones that tap you on the shoulder to give you the next opportunity, and they're going to let you fail. That's a part of sponsorship. You give people challenged opportunities, and they're going to fail. The mentor can be a little more friendly. It could be someone that you could have a more maybe direct conversation around challenges that you're having, and those are opportunities to really, but you have to really engage. And mentor, all of these things with a mentor, you need to own the experience. So I would say a mentor is someone that will help you along the way, someone you could chat with and be part of that conversation. But you need one or two sponsors in your career, and I've been fortunate I've had those that tap me on the shoulder, and when I failed, they helped pick me up, shake me off, but may go back and fix it. So it wasn't as if they let you off the hook, and that created tremendous personal growth and opportunity. Had I not had those experiences that someone was sitting around the table and saying, there's an opportunity, let's challenge her, I would not be in my seat today.
Yeah, that's very important. Jocelyn?
And I think so often for women and other minorities as well, we don't do as good a job getting mentors as well as sponsors. So there is a book entitled Forget a Mentor, Find a Sponsor, and it speaks to that, how for people who've been successful in their career, for the majority of them, they've not been able to do that without the help of a sponsor. And we need to find those opportunities and make sure that when we're in positions that we're speaking up, that we have questions, and because sponsors will sometimes seek us out. It's not that we're going out and say, oh, I want this person to be a sponsor. They see you making a difference and they want to invest in you. And we need to make sure that we put ourselves in positions to have sponsors. Mentors are great, but they can only do so much for you. Sponsors are really what help elevate your career.
Right.
And I notice those professionals that raise their hand.
Yeah.
I notice ones who want to talk to me about a book they've read. They're making a difference in the sense that then I want to take a little chance on them. And not that I don't want to take a chance on all the employees that we have, but more importantly, it's those that are differentiating themselves.
That's right.
That you're going to say, okay, have confidence. They're willing to lean in. They have those. So you take a chance on someone that way. And that's how not one of us sits here today without having someone taking an interest in our career,
That's very true.
which gets us where we're going.
And sponsors are investing in you. So they do, although they may, you may fail at something, but they do ultimately, at the end of the day, want you to win, and they're going to do all that they can because their reputation also is tied to what you do and your success.
That's right. I think that's important too when you think about interviews, right? Having books to read, when you said books to read, or even understanding the marketplace and who you're interviewing with.
Right.
You can even get help from who your mentor is. Even today as a college student, ask people who are in the profession, ask your parents, ask your friends, but really try to get as much information as you can before you go into an interview, and that's really around mentorship.
And you could do that if you don't have a contact that's in the industry. You can actually reach out to a professor. Adjunct professors are usually working in some type of the industry. They might have a contact, or they just have their own work experience that you take advantage of. That way you're prepared. Some people are fortunate they have contacts within the industry and some don't, but there's enough people at your college that are going to have that. And you have to ask.
You have to ask. And part of Envestnet Institute on campus actually gives you that opportunity. You could be part of our LinkedIn group. You can read up on our website. So there's a lot that we're trying to do to help the college students really become more understanding of what wealth management is, and really help them understand how many opportunities there are, and as a woman in this profession, how exciting and great it is. So does anybody have any closing remarks that they'd like to make?
I would just go back to what you said earlier about this is not only a great time for our profession, but a great time for women to be in the profession. So I'm excited at what's happening and unfolding over the next year, 5 years. I believe we're going to see more women get into the profession and also into positions of leadership, which will be tremendous.
Yeah, very exciting.
And that's because our consumer base, as you mentioned, Jill, more women are inheriting, more women are working, more women are making financial decisions for their families. And how they think about money may be different. So planning does become important. So the opportunity set here is very, very big for women, and you can't be put off by it might have been perceived as a male industry. And we want to help you do that.
That's right.
And we also want to make sure it isn't perceived as Wall Street, right? Because advisors are working with everyday people, and advice is more necessary now more than ever. And we really want to help people, and I think there are fabulous opportunities for women out there to help people.
Yeah.
And I would piggyback off of what Noreen said, which is ask people to talk, to find people, learn about the industry. People like to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
And if you just have one little connection, most people, when people contact me, I will rarely say no to someone who asks for a half hour of my time, on an informational basis.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you very much, ladies. This was a great conversation.
Thank you,
Thanks
Cheryl.
for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.